Call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Sandra Bradford.
Here.
Barry Altschuler.
Here.
Leah Collister-Lazari.
Here.
Erin Chan Ding.
Here.
Steve Wang.
Here.
Diana Clapton.
Here.
Harathi Srivastava.
Here.
All right, would you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again for your patience as we had a lengthy closed session that will continue even after this open session. So we have a lot of recognitions this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it right over to you, Dr.
All right. Thank you, Sandra. Yes, even though we're in summer vacation mode, we recently had two of our students with accomplishments that we want to recognize tonight at our Board of Education meeting. We'll start with our student athlete from Barrington High School, and I'd like to introduce our athletic director, Ryan Runstein, who's going to share more information about Mia's accomplishments.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for having us. It's a true pleasure to be here once again to recognize a remarkable student athlete for her dedication, hard work, and excellence in the sport of running. Before we celebrate our state champion, I want to take a moment to acknowledge a very important person to our program, and that's our head coach, Deborah Volta. This year, Deb graciously stepped in a head coaching role, truthfully more as a favor to me more than anything else, and took the proverbial bull by the horns. Her leadership, energy, and commitment made a tremendous impact, and we're grateful for all that she's done. So thank you, Deb. So now let's invite Mia up here. Mia, come on up. It's my absolute honor to reintroduce Mia Sirois. Many of you are already familiar with Mia. Around this time last year, we were here celebrating her first state title. Then in the fall, she was back here again, this time with her cross-country teammates, celebrating both an individual and team state championship. And now she returns once more after an incredible repeat performance at this year's state track meet. A few weeks ago, more than a few weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, Mia once again claimed the state title in the 3,200 meter race. And while it may sound like a repeat, it was anything but routine. In 2024, she won the event with a time of 10:19:29, her season best at the time, and finished nearly 15 seconds ahead of the next runner. This year, shattered that mark, running an astounding 10:01:12. Not only was that another personal best, but it also set a IHSA 3A state meet record by over 11 seconds. And once again, she finished more than 15 seconds ahead of the field. Let that sink in. She has completed her sophomore year and already has 3 individual state championships and a team title to her name. Yet, if you met her, you might never guess it. Mia's humility, grace, and character shine just as brightly as her athletic achievements. From the stands or from the finish line, for me, it's been a joy to watch and see how she carries herself with poise, gratitude, and genuine team spirit. She fully embraced the journey with her coaches, teammates, family, and friends. Mia exemplifies everything we hope to see in our student athletes. Congratulations, Mia, and thank you again for allowing us to share this moment with you. We're proud of you, not just for the titles and the records, but for the person Mia is and the way she represents our school district with character, leadership, and unwavering commitment to excellence. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Mia doesn't like it when people talk about her, though. So I'm sure that there are questions.
Mia, is there anything
Yeah.
you would like to share about your experience with the board before we open it up to questions?
Yeah, this season has been super special, and I've loved my time so far on the girls cross country and track team, and I'm super excited for the next 2 years. So thank you guys for everything that you do, and thank you, Coach Deb and my parents.
It's great. Well, we're very proud of you. How did you keep improving on already such a, other than put the miles in, right? But anything you did in particular, from last year to this year?
I think with time, you're able to continue to improve upon yourself, and as I become more mature, I'm able to push myself in new ways. So I think using last year's experience to my benefit, and continuing to work hard with my teammates.
Very cool.
So Mia, are you sick of seeing us yet? This is we would love to have you come back as many times as you want. You still have your junior and senior year, which I mean is no pressure, but I mean as many times as you want to visit us as state champion, please feel free. I just want to say, like, we are, you know, I run, our family runs, we're huge Mia fans. I don't know, there's even more, I think, Mia, to your season. You broke 10 for the first time in the 3,200 and ran a 9:59, right? I think a week after state, is that right?
Wow.
And then Mia gets invited to these like huge national meets. They're essentially national championships because high school doesn't really have a national championship. So like Nike and New Balance and Brooks, like they'll sponsor these. And you ran a meet recently with Jane Hedegren and Addie Ritzenhein. And these are like huge, huge high school names. Some of the fastest runners in the country, and Mia's in that handful, like in the whole country. And I think when you broke 10 minutes, I think you were only the 6th girl ever in Illinois history, right, to break 10 minutes in the 3,200 meters. So this, I mean, this is just incredible. So like I could run maybe 100 meters at your pace and just like completely die. So I probably not even 10 meters. So it's not just your running accomplishments. Like Ryan said, just the way that you represent Barrington to not just our state, but the country, your poise, your humility, the way you mentor younger runners, like my daughter, Callie, she looks up to you so much. We're always screaming at the live stream for you. And so we're very proud of you, proud to be Mia fans, and you're maybe the most special runner to come out of BHS. And I just, want to acknowledge just the amazingness of Mia. So I think we're very, very fortunate that you are here and representing us. So.
Thanks, I really appreciate that.
Wow.
We're so proud of you. Can I ask, and I do not want to jinx you, but how do you avoid injury? I mean, is it just lots of stretching? And I mean, what do you do to keep yourself in top shape?
I mean, I think Coach Jeff's been really smart with our training. So, we're relatively conservative compared to some other high school girls. So that and just doing the little things, I take care of my nutrition and I spend time, working on my recovery and sleep and all of those other things that, are, and massage with Dave. That seem small but really add up.
Well, I mean, those legs are valuable, so take care of them.
Since our next presentation is on the arts, what music do you listen to? Or do you listen to any music?
We listen to a lot of Beyonce and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Hey.
Empowering music, yeah.
That's great. Wow. How about one more round of applause for
Shall we run around and get pictures?
Oh,
Let's try to run your pace up and down the room.
Only you, Erin. The rest of us can keep up.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Nice. 1, 2, 3, say Mia.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Awesome. Thank you. Coach.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sorry, fangirling.
no worries. So we also have another student to recognize tonight, and I would like to invite Bridget Towson, our Director of Fine Visual and Performing Arts, up to share about the accomplishments that Aliani recently achieved. And so I'll turn it over to Bridget.
Great. So first of all, thank you so much to Dr. Winkleman and the school board for all of your support of the arts. We just really appreciate it within our department, and we're proud to recognize a student here tonight. So we are going to be celebrating Barrington High School student Kalyani Manjanath for the Congressional Art Award. If you want to come up and join me. So to give a little bit of background on this award, each year, United States House members from the United States Congress honor one high school student from each congressional district by selecting a piece of artwork for inclusion in an exhibit at the United States Capitol. Cool. The winning artworks hang in the Cannon Tunnel of the U.S. Capitol for 1 year. The tunnel is the most highly traveled access point between the U.S. House of Representatives and the state capitol, and the U.S. Capitol. Each day, members of Congress, distinguished visitors, and tens of thousands of tourists from the United States and abroad walk through the tunnel and admire the artwork. We are so proud that Kalyani, an incoming senior at BHS, had her artwork selected for this prestigious competition for Illinois Congressional District 5. I actually, to give a little bit of background, I noticed this artwork. It was up in the hallway in our AP art display cases, and I was really busy one day walking by, and I kind of stopped in my tracks amidst all these other pieces, just the technique, the lighting, the joy, the expression that came through in an oil paint, which is a very difficult medium to paint with. It really just stood out to me and kind of transported me to my own childhood playing in the snow. Maybe some of you feel the same looking at this piece.
Sure.
And I can understand why her piece was chosen by the Congressional Art Panel to be showcased in this prestigious display. The title of her painting is Child's Play, and Kalyani has shared that her work was inspired by a picture of her and her sister, who's here tonight, playing in the snow when they were younger, which she reimagined by using vibrant colors to capture the nostalgia and joy of youth and to explore the unique ways in which play has affected her life. I also asked her junior year AP art teacher, Miss Beatty, to share some words about what she's like as a student, right, in the arts. The product obviously is important, it's beautiful, but the process, the daily work we put in is equally important. So Miss Beatty shared that Kalyani is always full of ideas. She's independent, focused, and a cheerleader to her classmates, continually offering support and advice. Ms. Beatty also shared that Kalyani is thoughtful, kind, and humble, and always seems surprised by praise. So we hope it's not a surprise tonight that we're recognizing this beautiful artwork. And actually, as part of the award, she was able to travel with her mother last week to Washington, D.C. to go to a special recognition, that's all paid for the winners, and able to tour certain parts of the Capitol, look at the artwork there, learn about how our government works, and just do all kinds of amazing things. So we're so proud to celebrate Kalyani International Congressional Art Award, and I just wanted to thank you for spreading your joy and your talents through art and making Barrington proud. So thank you.
Awesome. So Kalyani, I'll make the same offer. Is there anything you'd like to share with us, whether it's more information or detail about what inspired you, or your piece itself, or even the experience that you were able to participate in last week to actually see your painting up?
Yeah, so the painting I made it for AP Art, and I just submitted it to the congressional competition on a whim, just randomly, and I was surprised by the outcome.
Okay.
And the experience was really awesome. I got to meet Mike Quigley, who is my representative, and I got to meet him, and we got to listen to a ceremony with all the other winners, and we got a presentation from the Speaker of the House and the majority leader of a party, and then yeah, we just got to meet the other winners, and my representatives, like interns, also gave me a tour of the Capitol and stuff like that. So it's a really awesome experience, and I'd like to thank Miss Beatty for like being a really good mentor, and just like the amazing fine arts department at Barrington, and also my family for encouraging my art journey.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Board, any questions?
Congratulations, that's amazing. And I love it too.
It really looks to me like the two are like floating in the air, you know? It just looks so.
Looks like a photograph. That's
surreal, I guess.
Yeah. When I first looked at it, I thought it was a real picture. It's beautiful.
Great.
Which colors did you mix up when you say you reimagined?
It originally wasn't this like, it wasn't really saturated, it was more like dull. So I basically just a lot of vibrant, like saturated colors.
Is art something you want to pursue in college or as a career at all, or something that you just kind of want to do lifelong on the side? What are you thinking?
It's more of like a hobby inside thing, yeah.
Very therapeutic too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're pretty good at it.
Yeah, you're super talented, so.
Do you listen to any music when you paint?
Yeah, I listen to like Sabrina Carpenter and The Weeknd, SZA. Yeah.
Great.
We're compiling a really good
I
know.
Well, how about one more round of applause, and can we do a picture as well?
Congratulations. Very beautiful. Oh, one more. Fantastic job. Great job. Did she get the paintings back? Do you hear? Yes.
Put a seal on it to say that it hung here. There's a seal. Stamp.
All right. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening. Thank you for taking the time.
Next up is my report. The board and I are very impressed with Mia and Kalyani's with their humility and their shining and colorful examples of empowering personal excellence in every learner at Barrington 220. We're very proud of you. Today, the board met early and we had a self-evaluation where we did a board governance review and discussed different ways we might be able to improve and continue to serve the community and our students and staff as a more effective board. So maybe more to come there. This past week, I was able to we had our quarterly meeting of the large district board presidents, where we spent a little bit of time just getting to know each other because it was an election and new presidents were present. A big takeaway for us is that there will be 19 constitutional changes coming up in our delegate assembly this November. So stay tuned for that, and whoever the lucky person is that gets to be our representative, there's going to be a lot of work with those constitutional changes. So there'll be some different ways available for us to learn more about what they are. But we know that that's coming. We also talked about different levels of training that we might be able to consider with more freshman board, sophomore boards, and things like that. So it was a good discussion. I want to ask the board just to make sure our next meeting is on, I looked this up, July 17th.
15th, I think.
So, 15th, maybe 15th?
17th, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, I looked this up. 15th. It is the 15th?
No, 15th. It is the 15th.
It is
17th. It is the 15th.
It is the
I
15th.
was gonna say.
Okay.
Still meeting on Tuesday, so it's kind of.
It's a few weeks away, board, so, and community, so sorry. Track. We'll be back here for lots more fun, but let us know, board, if you're gonna be gone over the summer or anything, so we know that we've got a quorum. And please note that since we aren't meeting for a few weeks, we are gonna have a little bit heavier agenda in August, so be prepared for that as well. Continue to look for doodle polls from Janine Stark, as she is helping us find time when we can lead each of the rotating admin committees. So when it meets your schedule, so make sure that you respond to that. We got PTO presidents this week, and we'll see more of them to come. Sorry with them. And then I think also maybe we'll look for time this summer or maybe in this fall to bring CPR training back. So we never did get a chance to do that. And then I guess I want to just leave us with our place to be as just enjoying your summer and taking pride in all the accomplishments that we've made in this district this year again. And don't forget our next meeting is on July.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for my report. So next up, we do have a couple people here for public comment. The board values your thoughts and opinions, and we will ensure that all voices are respected and heard in accordance with the board equity statement that states we recognize, embrace, and defend the identities and abilities and voices of our diverse school community. The board has agreed to the rules set forth in the policy in which the public commenters have agreed to abide. This is a board meeting that occurs in public and is not a public meeting. Public comment is not a conversation and does not necessarily reflect the views of the board. If any comments require a follow-up, we will ask Dr. McGlynn to do so. So with that, Alex, if you could state your name and your last name and your connection with the district, that would be great.
My name is Alex Serrano. Connection is with North Barrington CI program. So good evening, members of the board. As I mentioned before, my name is Alex, and I'm a proud parent of the student in the Chinese immersion program. My family made the decision to move to North Barrington because of the Chinese immersion program. While I am a native speaker, native Spanish speaker, we enrolled our child in the Chinese immersion program because we believe the Chinese language is language that will provide global opportunity and can provide cultural, economical, and intellectual benefits. It represents a bridge to the future. When we joined the program, it followed a 50-50 model, 2 teachers, 2 classrooms, 1 for English and 1 for Chinese. This structure ensures that the students are immersed in both languages every single day with dedicated professionals providing consistent, high-quality instructions. Now, we've learned that the district is considering only having 1 upcoming kindergarten class. This would mean more students and possibly 1 teacher and significantly less individualized instruction in each language. As a parent, I have serious concerns. Research in dual language immersion shows that smaller class sizes and consistent language separation with different teachers are essential to maintaining language integrity and cognitive development. According to the Center for Applied Linguistics, students in well-structured dual immersion programs tend to outperform their peers in both language and academic achievement. But when class sizes grow and teacher loads increase, language exposure decreases and individualized support becomes harder, especially for students who may be struggling or need differentiation. If the district decides to have only 1 teacher balancing 2 languages, you risk undermining the very core of what makes immersion successful by compromising the current technical teaching model. It also places an unfair burden on the teacher and diminishes the immersive environment our children need to thrive. Moreover, changes like this should not be made behind closed doors or presented as a done deal. As parents, we should be notified early and included in transparent processes that include a timeline, proposal, and opportunities for input. Our children's education deserves thoughtful planning, not sudden decisions. So something like a 5 or 4 year plan being stated for us in advance and informing us of the process of how to give us the ability to get back on the right path so that program could keep on moving forward. We urge the board to keep the current 50-50 structure with 2 classes and teachers. This program is why many families like mine choose to live here.
Thank you,
Okay.
Alex.
You're welcome.
so much.
Appreciate you. Erin Kellis?
It's actually labels. It's just
Oh.
a floppy owl.
Sorry.
So just, you know. Good evening. My name is Erin Lales. I have 4 children in the Chinese immersion program, and I am on the BCIC board. I really appreciate you taking the time to hear my comments tonight. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Winkleman and the Board of Education for your partnership and collaboration over the past few weeks. We truly appreciate that exciting and productive conversations have been underway to best position the Chinese immersion program for a stable and secure future. BCIC and the broader CI parent community acknowledge that you have heard our concerns and are considering creative ways to maintain a 2-teacher model to ensure that the incoming kindergarten cohort will, their experience will remain the same as all the prior cohorts. We eagerly await more information and clarity about how the mechanics of a new 2-teacher model would work. The registered and wait-listed incoming kindergarten families are most anxious to hear official news from the district about the structure of CI, as they will be impacted first. I'd also like to take this opportunity to emphasize how important it is to have not only 2 teachers, but to also have 2 sections. Having a single extra large section of Chinese immersion might work on paper with some creative staffing solutions, but a change like this could be detrimental to student learning and teacher effectiveness. Such a large class size would reduce the proportion of one-to-one speaking and teacher feedback. Additionally, the Tennessee Project STAR study, which is widely regarded as the most rigorous research in the field, found that smaller class sizes are strongly associated with better outcomes, especially in early grades. The very best outcome for everyone, students, teachers, and families, would be to continue to have 2 sections. Additionally, I'd like to point out that the current waitlist arrangement is not ideal for inspiring confidence and persuading new families to join the CI program. Those of us who are actively recruiting are doing our best to reassure families despite the uncertainty of the moment, but new families are discouraged. Please consider switching back to the open enrollment format now so that we have the best chance of bolstering enrollment numbers in hopes of maintaining 2 sections in the fall. While we advocate for maintaining 2 sections, we're actively working to strengthen and expand the CI community through a variety of outreach and engagement activities. Here's some of the things we're working on right now. First, a CI parent is hosting a popsicle playdate at the end of June, which is open to all incoming kindergartners and first graders. BCIC is planning a joint event in July, ideally with the Spanish Dual Language Parent Council, to offer new families opportunities to learn more about our specialty language programs. BCIC recently published an extensive FAQ about the CI program with the intention of addressing common misunderstandings about the program. BCIC has curated and distributed talking points to the CI community to support grassroots recruitment efforts. And BCIC has increased its volume of content on social media platforms. And we're also partnering with D220 PTOs and Barrington area preschools to expand our outreach and touch points even more.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that concludes our public comment. Dr. Winkleman, I'll turn it over to you for your report. I guess maybe I'll just say, we're going to continue to watch for any updates you have regarding enrollment across the district.
Absolutely. You know, I think I've said it a few times. This is the work of the summertime. We're continuing to make sure that we're monitoring, we're continuing to keep the board informed. And I want to reiterate, you know, comments were made tonight. We're going to keep those channels of communication open with, in particular, families and the Chinese Immersion Council throughout the summer months. So that will be in place, and I just want to reassure the board of that. All right, I'll switch gears to my first slide tonight. As I mentioned, you know, school's out, but there are still activities and things that are occurring throughout the district. This slide is about the Creativity Project. I wanted to take a moment tonight to really thank our Barrington Educational Foundation for the funding of the Creativity Project, which is really for students in our elementary schools across all of our elementary buildings this past school year. We had over 300 students across the district work with creativity guides to develop and implement original projects in the areas of STEM, visual arts, video, performance, philanthropic outreach, small businesses, and much, much more. Our staff and our parents have shared very positive feedback about what our students were able to accomplish when given the independence to create and develop authentic learning projects in small groups, which of course that piece is directly connected to our strategic plan with authentic learning opportunities. And on this slide, you'll see several examples that on Saturday, June 7th, the students and staff from all Barrington 220 elementary schools were invited to a creativity celebration at the high school to share artifacts from their projects with a wider public and to describe the creative process with friends, family, and interested community members. So wanted to give a shout out. I know some of the board were in attendance, and Leah, I think you brought something from the creativity project. Do you want to share what the board has tonight?
So when you got there, everyone got one of these bags with these summer fun things inside to inspire creativity in the fun summer. So feel free to open. And Kyle Simmons here. She's like, take them for the board. And I was like, okay. So yeah, she had made was a big part of this, and so was the Ed Foundation to start it the first year with 2 pilot schools, and then to do this year at every school. Imagine the high school gym full of displays all the way around with giant boxes.
It's the exact same idea I did.
And, games and big things that the teachers brought and then parents had to take home. And all the siblings and families looking at it all. It was fun. Very good. We did your photo with our glasses.
Sure.
Well, you brought them, so
Summer fun.
absolutely.
We started it.
You want a picture?
Sticker on it.
Creative project, pictures.
There you go.
It's a fun pose.
Here.
Official,
But
this.
they hold our beach.
Oh, okay.
Are we gonna throw the beach balls? Come on.
Oh, do you want us to sit? Do you want us to squish?
No, you guys are fine, just like
Oh, we're good. Okay.
Okay, then we're working.
Yeah.
Beach ball.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. You know, and a shout out to Bridget, the administration, certainly our teachers and staff that worked with our students throughout the year to really bring their creativity to light in different ways. These projects were, I mean, you can see the diverse projects that came forward and just giving our students the ability to pursue things that they're coming up with from the very beginning and then be able to see that through in different ways. It's a really cool project, and this is one that we talked about a lot. You know, sometimes the Ed Foundation, it's very concrete, like we're interested in doing this and it's a very specific outcome. This was one I really want to thank the foundation because this was more of a concept of how can we create this, no pun intended, experience for our students, and they totally embraced and supported it. So it was just really cool. So I wanted to share that with the board and our community tonight. All right, also we have an administrative recommendation for the board's consideration tonight in our personnel report. So I'd like to introduce Michelle Friedman, who is our recommendation as our next Grove Avenue principal. You can see from her slide, Michelle comes to us with a wealth of both teaching experience, administrative experience, as well as her education and preparation. Her work history, you know, she started as an elementary special ed and EL teacher, and then moved into administrative roles as an assistant principal, associate principal, principal of a pre-K 8, as well as a principal of an elementary school, and most recently principal at Longfellow Elementary in District 21. And then Michelle holds a number of degrees, starting at UW-Madison, where she earned her undergraduate degree, and then moving into a master's degree at National Louis, an advanced studies certificate, and a superintendent endorsement from Loyola. So well credentialed, brings a wealth of experience, and we're so excited for Michelle to join Grove Avenue Elementary School. And my last slide, who's got school spirit? Our Barrington 220 School Board, that's who. I thought this picture was just too fun not to share tonight. I don't know if you've seen this slide before or this picture, but you know, most recently we sat our new Board of Education, right, and we're making adjustments and we're doing transitions and updates. So this one was just so fun. I wanted to share it tonight. But if you, in a more serious tone, look at the website, one of the things that we updated was we reimagined the Board of Education page page on the website, and there is a group shot. So if you navigate now to the Board of Education, you'll see some of the photos. Thank you, everyone, for carving out the time on that Friday morning to come and participate in some of the photos and so forth. So I just thought this was a great one to share. So that concludes my report.
So,
Yeah.
We should go to the first home football game dressed like that.
Just like
I think so. For sure.
By the way, my-
I don't have a great on heels.
Let's move on to informational report. Does anybody have any questions about the report this week? Reports this week?
I guess I just want to ask the suspension report. It just seems like middle school and elementary is a significant increase. Specifically, there's a lot of repeaters, and I just didn't know if you wanted to make any kind of comment on that compared to previous years.
I think, yes, it's a snapshot year to year. I think we see fluctuations across the levels. I think Dr. Carpenter provided some context to see
Yes.
where some of the students that, there's always more to just the number. That some of those students we are working with more directly on some of those behavioral areas where we would like to see growth and improvement, where they're not repeating some of those behaviors, but actually able to reduce the number and frequency. So you'll see that across when you kind of dive into beyond the numbers, that while you see examples, some of them are the students that we know have identified needs that we're continuing to work on. And
I appreciate that.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Let's move on then to board committee reports. Policy was busy.
Yeah.
We'll
Yes,
talk
they
about that
were.
later.
Yes, we welcomed Harathi to our first policy meeting by rolling out 23 major policies, and 25 total.
Trial by fire.
Yes, and we're going to review them later tonight, but they include Title IX, federal uniform grievance for awards, ensuring success in school law, sexting and miscellaneous, and collective bargaining agreement. So exciting. Anything to add about your first impressions? Policy?
No, it went really well. It was efficient. No, but no, it was good. It was a good meeting.
Excellent.
I went to the Education Foundation. It was their May meeting and June meeting. Well, it's June, their final meeting of the year. And they talked about the Creativity Project, and they also, another big project they're doing in conjunction with the district this summer is redoing the incubator room. So it's been 10 years, and we are the showcase for the nation. So more to come in September, what it looks like. It'll be done by then.
Excellent. All right. Any other committees?
So I have been going to EdRed dinners and meetings, not knowing I was officially your EdRed representative, but I am your official EdRed representative. So this time I went to this mini summit knowing I was, and was joined by Barry. And so EdRed had a mini summit last Thursday where there were 2 breakout sessions and then a keynote speaker. And so Barry and I were interested in a variety, but I think we went to 4 different ones and got to share notes. So mine were mostly around advocacy and state legislation that went through. The 104th General Assembly just finished its spring session, and Franzik went through all of the education-related bills that passed that will affect us. And so there are a couple of things to highlight. One is John Berkey was there from LUDA. He talked about EBF funding, and even though the EBF funding we receive is minimal, is a tier 4, he also talked about MCATs and reimbursables from MCATs and how some of the tier 4 districts might be getting less in reimbursement. So it's something that would be interesting, Sarah, to talk about maybe in the future. And also, there's a massive bill to look at, and I'll try to see if maybe EdRed and Franzik could give us the slides, but there's a bill called SB 1740, and it just covers a whole bunch of things, and I'm sure we'll be seeing the effects in policy. Part of SB 1740, which has a lot of mandates in it about curriculum and a whole bunch of things, is a review committee to look at the onerous of mandates. So we found that ironic that there was a mandate to look at mandates. And so that is coming up, but it's nice to know, I think our state legislators have been working on this for at least several years about like how to reduce the impact of them and how, because they know it's difficult sometimes to actually implement, and a lot of them don't have funding behind them, even though they're well-intentioned. So, and Barry, do you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, the most interesting subgroup I went to was more about board process. There were 4 board presidents sharing their experiences. Some of the superintendents were in the room, and it was a nice give and take, and it added some new ideas that I want to share with our board to, again, just improve. And not that everything they're doing is better, but, when there's differences, it's good to have someone else look at, with a different set of eyes, and how are we doing things, and how could we do things, maybe a little differently. So I look forward to sharing that with the board. And just to piggyback on what Aaron said, Frantic is actually having a video tomorrow at noon. If anybody's interested to follow up exactly what they did, they're going to repeat what the bills were and what's still pending. And so if you're interested, I can get you the link.
Will be recorded?
It will be recorded.
It'll be recorded and available on our website after it, if you're not available.
I'm advertising.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great.
Please,
Thank you.
Perfect person to ask.
Thank you.
And yes, we can share this one.
Awesome. Be great. Anything else? All right, let's move into our consent agenda. We've got several items on our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve it as presented?
So move.
Second?
Okay, so on our consent agenda, we have minutes, both open and closed, and there was a revision to the closed session minutes from June 3rd, so hopefully everybody got a chance to see that. Finance reports, we have the board wage report, the treasurer's report from May, the revenues and expenditures from May, and the June bill list. We have a revised personnel report, which hopefully we'll get to talk about that in a few minutes. And then we had 2 minor policies, just as a reminder. Any policy that's on the consent agenda only had updates to the reference section references. So there's 2 policies there, 560 on expense and policy 7340 on student records. Were only the references were updated. So no content was changed. Any questions or comments? All right, let's do a roll call.
Sandra Bradford?
Yes.
Leah Colister-Lazari?
Yes.
Diana Clapton?
Yes.
Steve Wang?
Yes.
Harathi Srivastava?
Yes.
Erin Chanding?
Yes.
Barry Altshuler?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Winkleman, for a moment.
Yeah, it's official. If we can welcome Michelle Friedman, our new principal at Grove Avenue.
Yay.
Hi, I'm Michelle Friedman, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be the Grove Avenue principal. So thank you so much to the board and our administration. I'm super excited to get started and meet the community, meet the staff, and I also just really appreciate the warm welcome I've had since I've been here a short time, and I look forward to working with everybody. So thank you so much.
All right.
Welcome.
I think I might be the only Grove parent up here, but just.
You're okay.
I think I'll share a quick thing. During the interview process, one of the things we learned about Michelle is originally from Maryland, right? And they have a more similar format of a unit district, and that was one of the things that she shared about, interest in Barrington, of having that familiarity of how our system educates students. So that really stood out to us. So welcome. I'm glad you're part of Barrington. And I'm not going to forget tonight, I have some swag for you.
Yay.
Start to incorporate more of your Barrington red here. So.
It's my favorite color, so.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right. All right, so we've got a couple of action items. Let's see, I have to read this. Do I have to read this one, right? Okay.
You do.
All right, so I'm just going to say that I move, if that's okay, to approve the resolution providing the issue of not to exceed $25 million general obligation school bonds, Series 2025, of the district for the purpose of building and equipping an auditorium and an addition at the Barrington High School building, altering, repairing, and equipping existing buildings, and improving school sites, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
I second it.
Very good. All right. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago at our last board meeting and agreed this was the best way to move forward with our bonds. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, we put the $25 million as we didn't know exactly where we'd want the bond to land. It'll definitely be lower than that. So this is giving us a buffer, so I appreciate that. Also, it is being sold on Monday. So we'll have an idea of how many bids we get and what our interest looks like on Monday evening.
All right, you'll give us an update on that?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome.
And this again is money for our bond referendum that we passed last year, so we can pay for the things we want to do.
Yes, and it won't.
Shovels in the ground.
Yes, thank you, Barry. And it won't close until July, so you'll see it on our next budget when we bring that to the Finance Committee in July. So it'll be sold in June and close in July.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, we ready for roll call?
Barry Altshuler,
Yes.
Leah Colister-Lazari,
Yes.
Parathi Shrivastava.
Yes.
I know this. Erin Chanding.
Yes.
Sandra Bradford.
Yes.
Steve Wang.
Yes.
Diana Clapton.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. The board will now consider and vote on the recommendation that a notice to remedy be adopted regarding Ms. Tompkins Wise discussed in the board's previous closed session meeting. Do I have a motion from a member of the board to adopt the resolution authorizing said notice of remedy?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I think we've discussed this thoroughly in close. I don't think there's need for too much discussion here. So, okay to do a roll call?
Leah Colister-Lazari,
Yes.
Barry Altshuler,
Yes.
Diana Clapton,
Yes.
Erin Chanding,
Yes.
Sandra Bradford,
Yes.
Parathi Shrivastava,
Yes.
Steve Wang.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Now, the moment everybody's been waiting for, we get into our discussion on policy. Yeah. Let's go. I know we have some policy nerds in the room.
Way too excited.
Can't wait.
23.
Who's counts?
Get ready, it's 23, right, Erin? It's 23.
Yes.
27?
Major, yes.
23
Here we go.
We got a couple policy nerds in the room, so, you know.
Thanks, Dr. Carpenter.
Thank you for
saving
grouping
my
them.
life back there.
Yeah.
How about resident policy guru, Dr. Melissa Byrne? How about that?
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound better than nerd?
Well, I was.
I'm okay with
No,
your
I
audience.
know.
I'm a
just-
policy nerd,
just
so
joking.
I need to.
Okay, so thank you for having me to speak to you about first reading of policy tonight. So again, we have 23 major policies for review tonight that are categorized into 6 different categories. So what I would like to do is give you a brief overview of the 6 different categories and then answer any questions that you may have relevant to any of the policies in those categories.
And before Melissa starts, just to draw your attention, there is a little bit of color coding that is included in board docs. So just to reorient the board as far as if you are looking at the policies, what the different colors represent.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was
The-
like a light peach in one of them. I mean,
Yeah, so I'm going to explain that
Okay.
in just a minute.
yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. So the first category is relevant to Title IX. So the Title IX changes to policy revert back to the 2020 law. And we have also updated our Title IX policies with our new non-discrimination coordinator and Title IX coordinator. And so press has referred to these changes as a reversion, hence the light yellow / peach color, and those are evidence of the reversion because 2265, the uniform or the Title IX grievance procedure, that was a completely rewritten policy. And so that light yellow / peach references the language that was shifted from the new version. Does that help clarify?
Yes.
And then the second category is federal uniform grievance for awards. The amended federal rules enhance the management, transparency, and oversight of federal finance assistance by making the guidance clearer and more accessible. These rules also continue to apply to state grants in Illinois under the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, also referred to as GATA. I'm going to explain all the categories and then we'll shift to questions. The next category is ensuring success in school law, which also is referred to as ESS. Effective July 1st, the Ensuring Success in School Law adds Article 26A to the school code, requiring school districts to have policies, procedures, as well as resources in place to support students who are parents, expectant parents, or victims of domestic or sexual violence. Our next category is sexting. A new Illinois law makes it a crime to share fake, sexually explicit images or videos of someone without their consent, especially ones created using digital tools like deepfakes. In response to the school policy on student behavior, it has been updated to include a clear definition of sexting that now covers this type of offense. And then we have our miscellaneous category, which is referencing the policy 7-70, administering medicines to students. And then our last category is the collective bargaining agreement. So this is changed placement to reference for the full policy, not just sections of the policy. So there were 4 policies under this.
So Melissa gave the highlight because they are grouped around those different categories. Are there any questions in any one of the categories that the board would like to expand upon or ask or clarify?
Should we just go in order, like ask first about Title IX and see if
Sure.
we
Might as
can
well.
capture
Yeah.
all those?
Sure.
Any questions on the Title IX?
Yep, that makes sense.
Yes, so on the first one, 2260, on page 3, I'm just questioning, because I know we just talked about this a short time ago. Why parents aren't included in terms of, or it's not explicitly, it doesn't explicitly say that parents will be included in, if there is a part of the process. Because we talked about this, and I thought we changed it so we included parents somehow, and now it looks like that's, when we changed the policy or we amended the policy, it must have been, 5 or 6 months ago, and now that's out again. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, and if I'm recalling the conversation from previous meetings, is that is part of our practice and referenced in other policies that we have as it relates to how we conduct investigations, and Dr. Rivera can help provide any additional clarity. It just doesn't live within this specific policy.
Okay, just remind me, because like I said, I thought we included parents in this one too, but.
Yeah, so it is also, as Dr. Burns said, it's a reversion, so this would be original from 2020. My apologies. But I think what you're also thinking of is when we did talk about it, it was the 2024, I think, and then we went back. So this is kind of almost our third time bringing these up again.
Yes, I know that.
Yeah, but that was why, so we had that in other areas.
So
we referenced
do
it.
you guys remember, didn't we talk about including
I thought
parents?
if we removed it, we referenced it, or I think I might be confusing policies, but I thought if we were going to strike it, we were at least like referencing where it is.
Reference into a bigger one.
Right.
Yeah.
Saying, yeah. It was like a header policy, and then down here, there's a couple other ones, and they refer to the big one. I'm not using
I'm
correct
not gonna be
technical
able to-
language.
I don't recall all of that, but we can look into that.
Yeah, I think it impacted a couple of these policies, to make sure they were referenced.
Yeah, we'll look into that and.
So what I think I'm hearing the board say is they'd like those references back in.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's a good call, Barry.
thanks, Mary. Is there anything else on these? I'm just. Okay, shall I move on to the federal uniform grievance for awards?
I had one before.
Dr. Ray, can you remind me, remember how you were going to check on, and I don't think it was part of Title IX, I just can't remember which cluster it was in, whether the legal person and the support
It's part of
person-
the ESS law.
It's ESS, okay, so we'll get to that, okay.
Did anybody have any questions on these? I think I have one.
Yeah, on 480, I just wanted to check what we were changing. It says, now I'm on page 2 of the 4/80. It says $5,000. What did the way it was pinked out?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
it $105,000 or $105?
No,
or-
I can explain this. So
Okay, thank
it's
you.
our recommendation that we do not adopt the press recommendation to change our capital threshold to $10,000, and that we should stick with what our policy currently refers to, which is $5,000.
All right.
The Government Financial Officers Association, the GFOA, still notes that this is the recommended base level for capitalization. So items at this level are material enough to warrant tracking and reporting.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure what we
Yep.
were
I had the same
changing, so
question. Thanks,
I
Barry.
appreciate that.
All right, any other questions on those two policies?
Yes, I also just am wondering again, I don't want to be annoying here. Does every school have $1,000 in petty cash? Or is that just petty cash like district-wide or whatever?
We don't really have petty cash.
Oh, we don't? Okay.
No,
It talks about
our
dollars petty cash.
gets deposited on a daily basis. The only thing that we have cash for is concessions or ticket sales, which we don't do so much of now that we have some online platforms, but we don't carry a petty cash balance.
Oh, okay,
It's just an option for us.
perfect.
Okay. How about the next section, ensuring success in school, the ESS law? Do I need to read all these numbers? Do I? I'm happy to read them if you guys read each one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm usually in 770, actually.
The one point of clarity that came up at the policy committee meeting is revolving around 7:200 and 7:210 for suspension procedures and expulsion procedures. We had some discussion on the language of support person, so we did get clarity from both press as well as our attorney, and clarified that the legal representative and support person can be two different people.
Does
Thank
that
you.
cover attorney as well?
Yes, that's,
Okay.
an attorney would be a
Overall.
representative, yeah.
Okay.
So there can be a student, a parent/guardian, legal representation, and a support person.
Yeah.
Right, represent in the hearing, okay.
Trying to read my, okay, so these don't really reflect too much of a change in our practice today.
Not in our practice, it's just reflective of the change in the law that is effective July 1st, referring to students who are parents, expected parents, or victims of domestic or sexual violence. And so there was some discussion about why are these lumped together? It's because the way the statute is written.
Trying to read my own handwriting.
I know, I had notes, but I didn't have really good notes.
I had one other question on 7:200.
There it is.
I have a question about 770, the second paragraph.
I think Sandra just asked one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
Well, what was your question?
Oh, yes, yours, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
It's
you had a
okay, no,
question.
go ahead.
I didn't realize you had a question. I'm just, it doesn't really have to do with this policy as much as just the general question. They talk about chronic absences for different reasons. Does that count? I mean, they, go back to the second paragraph. They talk about reasons why people are not in school, physically or mentally unable. Do we keep track of that data, and does that count towards our chronic absence list, or these are excluded from this list?
So these are what's explained in this policy are authorized absences, so in other words, excused absences. However, they still do count towards a student's chronic absenteeism rate.
Okay.
In our state data.
That was the question.
It's
I
a
didn't
different-
say.
Different set of definitions.
Yeah, not in truancy, but in chronic absenteeism.
I'm good.
I wrote down, how are we gonna monitor this? But I don't know why.
For which one?
For 770,
I wrote it down next to 7200, but I couldn't find a place where I would have. So I'm looking to the others to see if there's anything. Something we had to monitor.
As far as attendance,
It was the attendance piece.
at the hearing.
Like, so we don't have any concerns on how we're gonna operate with this policy. I'll just get that one. Okay. Any other questions on those 7 or 8 of them?
nope, they got answered.
Okay. About the next section, there's 4 policies on sexting and miscellaneous. So we've got the new definition of sexting that's in there. Again, I feel like it's not really changing our practice, because we're documenting how we need to by law.
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions there?
Again, maybe I'm nitpicking terms, but yeah, on 7190, page 4, number 16, they're just listing all the different, let's just see what we're just saying. The school administration is authorized to discipline students for the following, including 16 says being involved with any public school fraternity, sorority, or secret society. But I'm thinking like National Honor Society would be considered a school fraternity, or if there's a black student organization, would that be I may be nitpicking, but the way I'm reading this, that would be something that they could get disciplined for. Am I reading it wrong?
I would need to go back to the law to
Okay.
see clarity
Yeah, just
on
number 16 just
those
jumps out at me, like,
definitions.
I wouldn't consider National Honor Society a secret society.
Well, or a Bible study group. I'm throwing out a black student organization, an LGBTQ
Those would not. be
fraternity. I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be too nitpicky, but is this so broad that it would include those kinds of situations, I guess?
I wonder if it was originally referring to like a Greek fraternity, kind of like on a college campus, like a Greek fraternity or sorority.
Well, I mean, I think,
We can
find out.
We can find out and note that because this is not a change, only the green is what
Yeah, it
the
just
change,
jumped out at
so
me.
we
That's
can-
why. I'm not trying to change everything you're
Yeah.
doing. It's just this one, when I looked at it, I'm like, that looks like it's so broad,
Yeah, I read it to mean like a secret club, right?
which would be
That would
totally
be
different.
problematic, right? So
Yes.
if you could just clarify.
I believe that's the intent. We can provide an update on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I just,
No. We always, I guess we could always ask the question when the policy committee reviews these things. I'm assuming we're looking at the whole policy too, so.
Yeah, the
Now-
committee actually goes one by one, each policy, all of the content. So yes.
thank you.
I had one in this section too, I think 7.310. We added and middle schools. Is that because we?
Yeah,
thought
well,
it
that's
ought to
because the
apply, or is
Illinois
that
School
changed?
Code defines elementary as K-8, and so we felt it important to clarify and have middle school stand out.
That makes sense. Not really a change in process though.
Correct.
No, it was just to make sure it's clear that elementary and middle school are different as far as how we refer to them in our district.
Okay, any other questions?
I actually wanted to, sorry, go back. I was trying to find my note on it, but I got
That's okay.
lost.
Got it.
To Title IX, it was actually the second one, 265. And maybe just a question. I'm looking at page 1 when it gives examples of sexual harassment. And it says, include but are not limited to touching, and then the rest of it's kind of highlighted, the other ones. My question was on touching. Is that too broad? Like, should it be inappropriate touching? And it's more so a question for the table. It felt really broad to me.
Are you on 265? Which one are you on?
Yeah.
265
Okay.
on page
Page 1, when it gives examples of sexual harassment.
Or like uninvited or like
Yeah.
unwarranted or like.
It feels like it needs a word in front of it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, you
We
can
could-
also, I can do this to Aaron and it doesn't mean anything, but if I do it to someone else, it could mean something completely different, like tapping her on the arm. And so the circumstances might relate to this. And then it would be more of that, perhaps.
But again, I think it
Unwanted would also be that.
unwanted.
Maybe unwanted.
Yeah.
And my memory is that we added this, that we wanted examples that weren't necessarily in the original press document. So this is something I think, 6 months ago, or whatever, when we did this, we decided,
This is that other color too.
Yeah, this is because this was a completely rewritten policy, so this is a reversion. So the light peach or yellow is what has changed since that revision.
To expand the definition by more.
Yeah, we can see
Examples.
clarity on
Yeah.
inappropriate versus
I can see
unwanted.
both sides of it. I mean, I understand why you may want to say a further descriptor like unwanted or inappropriate. But I could also see an argument for not doing that because I think the circumstances, which is what Leah was saying, may play a role in that. Or then you would, I think, want to define what you consider inappropriate touching versus what a touching's acceptable. Let us seek a little clarification on this and give the board some feedback of, is it better to be more descriptive or is it better to have it a little bit more open, which then puts us in a position to be able to address different types of touching, because I can see both sides.
Yeah, I in that example that you just gave, I would hate for something like that to be sexual harassment versus maybe it's harassment, but sexual harassment. It feels like it needs
Well, if
something to ground that in.
depending on who the people are and how often it happens.
Like a qualifier.
These are
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's,
examples.
I just made something up. off the top
We
of
can
my head,
bolster
so
that up.
there's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, anything else? That was Title IX again. I think we're down to the last grouping then, the collective bargaining agreement. There are 4 policies there.
Yeah, were there any questions on miscellaneous, the administering medicines to students?
that one looked good.
Any questions there? All right, and then what about the collective bargaining? The 4 policies there. Any questions? Okay. So we're moving them all forward. I did not take great notes,
I did.
but which, so 265, we're gonna look at
Yeah.
updating.
Any references with the notification of parents from previous policy language, we'll get an update to the board, and then seeking clarification on, do we want to define the touching, and add some more descriptive language to that? Is there anything else, Dr. Byrne, that we said we would look further
Did you already
into?
say the 7190 student behavior seeking clarity on number 16?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. The secret society. Okay.
Okay. And with those, look into those 3 and then bring them back for second reading. Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Policy
everyone.
Committee.
Yeah,
Hard
thank
hard
you.
work.
Okay, so that was our last discussion item. As I mentioned earlier, the board does need to go back into closed session. So thank you all, and we'll see you on July 15th.